agenda. Does anyone have any additions to the agenda for this evening? Okay, may I have a mover to move the agenda? Thank you, Becky. Seconder? All in favor? Oh, thank you, Matt. All in favor? Good. Declarations of pecuniary interest. Any conflicts of interest, anyone? Great. Then let's move forward to number 4. Approval of the minutes from the previous meeting. I'm sure everybody's had a chance to read them over. I read them over again today. Any questions or any amendments necessary? Okay. Well, again, I need a mover for the minutes of February 9th, 2021. Someone would like to move them?
I'll move that.
Thank you, John. Second it by? Is that you, Becky, seconding?
I can, but I think Leanne's name or hand was.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see Leanne.
Okay.
Thank you, Leanne, and welcome, Bernice. Any business arising from the minutes? At this point, I have nothing on my report of business arising from the minutes, but is there anybody else? Was there anything that they wanted to discuss before we move on? Number 6 is correspondence. I do have a letter. I received a letter informing me of the transition of souls to the OLSB. And Becky, you should be receiving a letter in a day or so. I have registered you. I will give you a phone call, Becky, because they wanted your home address. So I'm not going to ask for that online, but we did receive that letter. They're moving forward. I will be attending a workshop with the new organization next Monday, and it deals with the budgeting process and the library system currently, and I'll share whatever I get from that at the next meeting. So that is next Monday afternoon. And Becky, if you wish to join me, I can make sure you're registered for that. Otherwise, I will sit in, and after that, I'll let you attend the workshops if you're interested.
Yeah, I'm at work next Monday at the office, so it probably isn't going to work.
That's fine. I just figured when the opportunity arose and I had that information, I would sign up for it. There was no other correspondence. I checked with Sherry. Sherry, has there been anything since we last talked? Okay. Our financial report, I know everybody's had an opportunity to go through the financial report. It goes basically, well, the first invoice goes from October, and the last one is the 3rd of March. Does anybody have any questions or any concerns about the budget?
I had a question, Terry, just not a concern, just a question. Sherry, I didn't look back on the previous financial statements, but I noticed on this one, there was a cost to replace windshield wipers, which is fine. But did I see that in the last financial report as well? Do you recall? I can't. Seems nitpicky, but it just seemed unusual if in fact that is the case. But
do you know the page, John?
On this particular report,
I'm sorry, I can't, I'm just trying to gleam it and I can't, I'm not grabbing it, so.
Still looking. Don't want to make a big deal out of it. I just wondered if Sherry remembered that, you know, that if that came up previously as well, and it just struck me as kind of unusual, but maybe not. I'm not seeing it either. Maybe I was seeing.
I see a van wash at $14, but that's the only one I can catch my eye on.
Yeah. Okay. Well, Doing one more quick check here.
Do you recall the amount?
Yeah, I thought it was like $200 or something, but. Just, I don't see it. So don't,
Okay.
sorry.
Well, thank you. If we come across it, we need more clarity later on. I'm sure we'll be able to do that. Sherry explained to me, we did talk about the payables the other day, and I had asked her about one that was a larger item, and she explained what Envisionware was, the computer system. So, but there were no surprises that I could see. Would somebody like to move that we approve the accounts payables? Is that you, Becky? Your
Yeah,
hand?
I can do that. Yep.
Okay,
Yep.
Matt, are you seconding? And all in favor? Thank you. Friends report, Becky. Anything to follow up on?
Yeah, we actually had our AGM on the 1st of March. Sorry, I had to look at my calendar. So we decided from the meeting, I contacted Diebel about the check presentation, and seeing as if we have a picture, we have to wear masks and all of that. Diebels are quite fine with not having a picture this year. So what Sherry is going to do is just do a post on Facebook, on social media to thank them, note how much was donated. And I'm sure everyone will understand under the circumstances, we can't get together for a picture. And they were fine with that. So that's going to get done on the Facebook or the social media side of things. And then we're just going to obviously wait until the fall and see what happens with this year's fundraiser, mainly because of the fact that they won't have the U-cut. They're bringing in trees, so we're not quite sure what that's going to look like. And then we left it open as well for whenever Moncton can have a official grand opening. We have funds set aside to cover the cost of some sort of celebration, I guess if you want to say, like whether we bring in someone to do balloon animals or something like that. So the friends have set money aside for that. Whether we offer, cake or cupcakes or beverages or something like that. Other than that, that was kind of it, wasn't Sherry? Oh, we're going to wait. The 26th of March is the last date if anybody tries to contact Sherry for the refund on the fundraiser from last March that had to be canceled, because there's about $700 that has never been reclaimed. So we kind of put a deadline of March. I think is it a year, Sherry? Would that be March 26th a year? Okay. So if no one contacts her by then we're going to go ahead and deposit the money and just consider it a donation. And I think
Sherry,
we've given ample time. Yeah.
Debbie was just talking to the gentleman the other day. He lives in South Carolina, and he would still love to do something. So maybe if it's an online, maybe if we retain the names of the people that, if we know that it could be a free thing almost online for everybody. But I just know Debbie had spoken with him the other day. It was his birthday, and she sent him an email, and he said he misses the opportunity. He missed the opportunity to visit, but he's missed the opportunity to travel. Period this year. So the other one, I don't know if you know the Murdoch Mysteries. My sister was talking to the writer of the Murdoch Mysteries, and she had just done a workshop for the Toronto Library Board system and did it pro bono, and we attended, and it was quite impressive. So I might ask Debbie to give you a chat. There might be something you could do there as well.
Yeah, like we said, if it was like the money that we have from people, we really have no idea who it's from. So
well, I'd say it's me, but
it's cash. So we all agreed that if anybody had wanted their money back, there was ample time to come into or contact the library anyway, not necessarily come in. But so we are obviously hoping we can do something again, whether it be with the gentleman we had booked before or something different. So it's obviously going to be a new way of fundraising thinking. So
well, it was a nice idea, and it's too bad it didn't happen. So
yeah.
And all the organization that went into it was unbelievable as well. Well, thank you.
And I'll
Thank
just
you.
add a little bit to that. Many of those people did contact us and tell us they did want their ticket money to be used as a donation. Many people have done that already. So maybe not that much money's worth, but we've had many people contact us. And the other thing I wanted to mention was we did do our Facebook post, and the Deeples already liked it and thanked us for that.
Okay, sorry.
That's
I'm
been
not
done.
off of my social media lately.
Megan is so good at that. So
Yeah,
she
thanks,
did a nice
thanks.
post, and they've already acknowledged that.
Great.
Thank you, Becky.
Okay.
The next part, number 10, are library updates. And at this time, I'm going to turn it over to Sherry, and she's going to begin with 10.1, our COVID update at this time.
Yes, I'd just like you to let everyone know that we are open by appointment for browsing, computer use, faxing, printing, scanning. People can call us to book appointments or just come to the door. Either way, we're really happy to let them in. Amy Gangle, the interim manager of facilities, joined me on a branch visit a couple weeks ago to review the 50% capacity. And 50% capacity for Moncton is 17, for Atwood is 6, and for Listool is 27 on our main floor. And they do not count staff as part of that capacity. She suggested some rearranging of some furnishings to ensure that the social distancing requirement can be maintained at all times. The staff believe these numbers work. At no time have we ever been near capacity at any site, but we do need to be aware just in case, we do get a big uptake. Most people do come in, get what they want and leave. They are doing quick visits, but quite honestly, when we contact people saying their curbside books are available, we offer them this chance to come in browsing. And I personally am really surprised at how many are still choosing curbside. Many are choosing curbside. Well, I looked at our numbers today, and today in Listool, we had 34 walk-in customers, 29 curbside customers. In Moncton, we had 1 walk-in customer and 5 curbsides. And in Atwood, we had 3 walk-ins and 2 curbsides. So people are in our community, at our library, just aren't quite ready to come inside the buildings at all times. And I guess I need you to be aware that it would be pretty difficult with the amount of staff that we currently have to have our doors fully open and fully offer curbside, because curbside's fairly staff intensive. So this is really, honestly, this is really working for us. People seem to be content and happy. The ones that want to come in are happy to come in, and the ones that want curbside are happy for curbside. So right now it's what we're doing, what we're going to maintain. At our last PCIN meeting, we discussed shortening the quarantine time for books. Currently, all books are kept for 72 hours. The libraries in Kitchener, Guelph, Cambridge have decided to cut theirs back to 24 hours. We discussed this, but it was decided to leave it at 72 hours, and they're going to revisit it next month. And on Wednesday, March 3rd, I got a phone call from the Huron Perth Public Health Unit wondering if the libraries would consider assisting people who are eligible to book vaccine appointments but don't have online access, if we could assist them at the library. Coincidentally, that was the day that we were having our PCIN CEO meeting. So I invited the Huron Perth health nurse, and she joined us at our meeting. So we were able to speak to her as a group, which was really just very, very nice to be able to do. And all Perth County libraries certainly agreed to participate. And so she gave us the guidelines. That was, I think, last Wednesday. Within the first hour, Scott, one of our staff members here, completed 2 registrations and assured us that the process was really easy and very quick and doable. We seem to be getting a couple calls a day, but it's dependent on the availability of appointments. So each morning we check the Huron Perth site to see, so we're aware if we can assist or we can't assist. If there's no appointments available. And currently all the clinics for North Perth are filled, and there's no more dates scheduled. According to their website, there's clinics scheduled for Stratford, Goderich, Exeter, Mitchell, and their website said the links to those clinics will be open shortly. So once the links open, then we can help out. But until the links are open, we just have to say, we'll keep checking back. As of right now, I believe we're fine staff-wise. We seem to be handling it fine, and we're really happy to be able to offer that service. So that's my COVID update.
I don't know, Bernice, did you want to share about the Wellington and their activity in terms of the COVID registration?
I don't know much about it. I actually sent a quick email to Terry a week or two, last week maybe, that they were doing the same sort of thing. So I don't know exactly what they were doing in Wellington. Sherry, I just want to say thank you so much for being able to offer that service, because some people may have a challenge having access to technology or like me, not be as gifted with it. So to be able to give them that peace of mind is fantastic. And as you always say that, you know, the library is there as a service to the community, and you're really showing that by being willing and flexible enough to do that for the health unit. So I appreciate that.
The health unit was very happy because I guess the phone lines are very busy. So we're us being able to help out with the online certainly helps them also. Yes. Thanks. We are really happy to do that.
Thank you, Sherry. Do you want to do the updates on Moncton and Listool as well?
Yes, I thought I'd just take this time. There's been lots happening, or a little bit happening, lots happening in Moncton. I wanted to make sure you guys are all aware of it. All our fobs have all been fixed. The cell service has been strengthened within the building. Doors are all programmed now and they're unlocked during the open hours and automatically locked when we're closed. And staff working at the Moncton Library reported to me that there was some cracks in that new live edge desk that we had. One large crack and 3 smaller cracks. So I quick called Kyle from Backwoods Timber, and he came that very same day, and he explained that it's a pretty normal occurrence. He fixed them and certainly assured us if we have any other concerns or if it happens again to let him know and he'd fix it again. When I asked him if it's something we needed to do with the humidity levels or anything, he assured me no, that it's just a normal thing that happens, and eventually we won't get any more cracks. But where he's fixed the cracks, he's put epoxy and it looks really great. But the other thing that's happened is that North Perth wasn't satisfied with the conditions of the top coat of the epoxy finish on the floors in the whole new addition. So they've contacted the company, and the company is going to redo the whole top coat with a stronger finish. And that's happening on March 22nd to 29th. And they're completing it in process and stages. First the daycare, then the library, then the foyer. So the plan is that the library will be closed on Thursday, March 25th of that week, but we should be able to be open on the Tuesday when they're doing the daycare and the Saturday when they're doing the foyer. We might be required to use the side entrance if the foyer isn't available, but the staff felt that was certainly doable. But I guess I need you to know that as per any building renovation, we might have to pivot quickly, but we will use social media to get the word out. But we really aren't anticipating any problems, but will need to be closed for 1 day to get a stronger finish. That's the Moncton update. Listool update is just, I wanted to let you know about our security system. For the past few months, our security system seems to be experiencing some issues, and I just wanted to make sure you were aware that I had some concerns. You'll probably remember in November, our fire alarm went off and the fire department arrived. Brand security came and I came. We couldn't find any specific reason and came to the conclusion it was a system overload. Richardson Fire had done a fire inspection and they felt that that's what caused the alarm. The West End motion sensor has been activating and causing an alarm. It happened once in January, once in February, once in March. It always seems to be in the middle of the night, and it's always on a weekend so far. Brand security came earlier and checked it and couldn't really, they tightened wires and cleaned parts, hoping that would fix it, but it went off again this past Sunday night. So they came again today and they've deactivated that particular sensor. There's still lots of monitoring in our building, so losing one sensor really isn't a concern. It's actually hopefully a nice thing, so I won't be getting woke up and called in the middle of the night. And we've had our exterior fob sensors quit working on 2 occasions in January and February. The keypad froze, but once again, Brand Security came. They replaced the exterior fob receiver, reset the keypad system. So I guess I want you to know that they've been really great in responding to our concerns, but hopefully it's all just coincidences and the fixes they've completed are working. But it's really unusual. In the 20 years that I've been here, we've never had this many security issues in 3 months. Brand Security did explain that it's an aging system. They wanted Amy, this facilities manager, contact them also, and they just wanted us to be aware that it is an aging system. So we have proactively asked them for an estimate for the cost of a new system, just in case. Hopefully this is the end of it, but you know, it's a lot happening in a very short time. And it is a 20-year-old security system. So that was my update for the Listool branch.
Thank you, Sherry. I know you enjoy those 3 o'clock 3 o'clock visits to the library. You shared them with me already. Did anybody have any questions for Sherry in regards to the COVID Moncton and Library branches.
I have some questions. It's more about the building. Can I ask them now, or do you want me to wait?
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead, Leanne.
Yeah, I just noticed in the report around information, Sherry, about the continued crumbling of the brick wall and continued repairs needed. Is there any movement on having that being booked to be repaired in the near future?
I know it's been discussed again, and then Mark Crabba and Amy, it's been discussed, but I don't think at this point in time there's anyone booked yet, no. But it's definitely on the radar again.
Okay. I have to tell you, I just feel very frustrated about that, and I'm not mad at you. It's not you. I'm just feeling like every time I see a report as a counselor that these repairs haven't been done yet, and I still see this as asset management, where we are not managing this resource and repairing it as it's needed. And again, it's not you, and
Oh,
I'm
that's
not blaming anybody. I'm just feeling a bit frustrated that for some reason we're just not seeming to get that arranged. So
Are you,
um,
are you okay, Leanne, with me
I
passing on your frustrations to the facilities people that was brought up at our meeting, and can I share that?
yeah, actually, yeah, and actually, if you don't mind, Sherry, I don't want to blindside you, but I wouldn't mind contacting someone myself. I think if they hear it from a counselor, maybe that might move things along.
Not offend me
I
at
don't
all.
think it's that.
I agree
Hope you
with you,
don't
and
mind.
I agree with you, Leanne. My concern is we keep procrastinating on it, and the safety issue and the cost issue. The longer we defer it, the more the cost goes up. The reality of it is, costs are shooting up quite a bit right now. And the one situation with the wall, we've had it temporarily repaired, but is it a solution? And I know I mentioned it to John the other day. You know, we're going to have to make a decision at some point. We can't count on the hub in 3 years or 2 years or whenever it happens. We're going to have to make a decision on our repairs sooner than later. And when I spoke to John, we were saying, is this an issue that we wish when we have a new CEO on board that we begin to deal with these issues, because they've been in existence now for 2 years, if not longer. I don't know if other people have comments, or go ahead, John.
Yeah, Leanne, I'm just wondering if, and correct me here if I'm wrong, the hiring for the municipality, Amy's the program manager, I think now, and are they looking for a facilities manager as well? That position is still not finalized. Is that correct to your understanding?
Yeah, that's correct. I believe it's being posted. However, I still feel that somehow
I
we
went,
need, I feel the need to turn the heat up on this and get this at the forefront, because like I said, I'm getting a little tired of constantly seeing this and no action being done. And we're getting into construction season. So we're what, 6 weeks away of contractors being able to do work. And if we don't even have a quote yet, then this could be October before we're back at it.
is
I don't
is
know.
there,
I feel like something needs to be done.
I agree totally. I totally agree. I just wonder whether the powers that be, someone is deferring this until that person is hired and then dumping it on them. Is that a possibility? So
Probably,
that
but
would have something to do with the dithering, but again, I wouldn't want to. It shouldn't have any impact on getting it done. But I just wondering why nothing has happened, and not looking at you for that, but whoever makes those decisions.
Matt, do you wish? Go ahead,
Hi,
Matt.
thanks everyone. Leanne, if we happen to talk to someone there, if you would like counsel too deep, I'd be happy to help you with that. That's not an issue. The biggest issue that we found, even over the past number of years that this has raised itself, is even finding someone to do it. It's been not so much of a dithering point or anything that's being deferred or to put on someone else to come. It's to find someone who can actually do the work. We've, in the past few years, we've actually lost a local mason to unfortunate circumstances, and to get anyone else who is actually qualified in order to do it and do it properly, they don't even bid on it. So you can put we've actually put this out to tender a couple of times to get things fixed and looked at. And all of a sudden, I'm trying to recall my memory. It was like a couple of years ago. All of a sudden, you get an architect who would, well, he's not the bricks and mortar guy that would actually go and do it. And that's the issue is of available trades. We've even cast the net even wider into Waterloo and Kitchener. They're so action-packed busy that it doesn't really matter what the job is. We can put the haste of all we want on it, but if no one's going to bid on the job to actually give us a quote and to say it's going to cost X amount of dollars and I can do it here, we've actually never really ever seen one of those. It's always been, well, we can consult on it and we can do this, and as the damage gets worse, we can tell you how much more it needs, but they're not the people who actually have a trowel and mortar in hand. And that's the problem, is available trades, which is unfortunate, and it's just given, and that's, we found that out because this is even present to itself in the days of Steve Hardy, like way back when, even before you're on. Like this is not new, and we wouldn't defer something like that. Leanne, you've seen something that we've done in the past that if something is in dire need of repair that it needs to fix is going to cause further damage, we get right on it. We just can't find anyone to do it. That's why, was it 2 years ago? I think that Rebecca had to get a report from an actual architect because she didn't have the
Yes.
structural knowledge and the stuff to find out exactly what needs to be done so you could actually put together a viable tender. You can't really put a tender together to say we need some bricks fixed, like when the front face of the Carnegie building is totally different than the back right corner of the new building that was built in 99. Totally different scenario and a bit of masonry. So just to give a bit of backstory on that, there's not really a lot of dithering on this. It's just lack of available trades who are either willing to take the job when they can cherry pick any job that they want. And you get some of these smaller jobs and they, well, that's not worth my time. And they just don't put in a bid to it. So that's the unfortunate circumstance that we're in. I just wanted to provide a little bit of clarity on that. I think we could put a little heat on some people to do that, but I think the end result is going to be the same until we can. I'm going to be talking to some contractors shortly. There might be a possibility that one of them could possibly help out with some of the most emergent ones, but failing that, I think we could put heat, but I think it's going to be undue heat for and putting stress on people who, if the trades don't exist, like you can tell the board as much as you want, I've got to get this thing fixed, but if there's not a mechanic in the shop, you can't get your car fixed. Full stop.
I guess like I remember all that effort that happened last year. I totally remember that, Matt. But if I don't think there's a tender out now. And so I would feel better even if we kept trying, even if we could keep saying, the tender was out last week, we got nothing. But I don't think there's been a tender been out since last spring from my understanding of the records. And so that's a long time. And unless we keep trying, I don't feel like I like to see more effort to at least try. And again, I'm not blaming anybody, and I know it's so hard to find someone to fix this, but I would like to see at least some tenders out there
No,
to
I agree with that,
keep
and
the effort going.
we certainly should revisit that. And like I said, send me a text or something like that on the side from this meeting, Leanne. That if we want to go too deep on meeting, we certainly can do that. And I'm also going to have a couple of private conversations with some local trades, and at least let's see if we can't button it up and at least prevent any further damage. That's the biggest thing for right now, is to try and get things, until we know exactly what's happening, to try and get things mitigated
Thank
as
you.
best we can. So
Thanks, Matt. Bernice would like to share something.
I agree with what you said, Matt, that it's been a real challenge to get someone with the skill set that's able to do it. We also have talked about facilities in terms of the impact of possibly doing the hub. I'm really not sure where that is, so I don't know if we should have some discussion with council or learn more about what council's perspective for that is, because that will impact possibly other things that are happening aside from the front area.
Thank you. Go ahead, Matt.
Supplemental, if I might, and that gets to be a very difficult conversation. There's fixing it to stop any further damage, but then there's fixing it to be the way it should be, properly fixed. And I think depending, and it all comes down to dollars and cents with anything on council. And I'm just being frank here. We have to look like, do you spend, say, $100,000 to fix things, to get things up to a building that's going to be basically decommissioned in a year? Like, that's not a good spending of money. Or and I'm just arbitrary numbers, or do you bring it forward and to say that we can spend, for the sake of argument, $10,000 now, stop future damage, make it a little safer, and to do that until we get a full decision? Because bringing something in the next 2 or 3 months or whatever about what's going on with the hub, I'll guarantee it'll be crickets on council, because until we hear a lot more information that's coming in, I think we have to look at mitigation at this stage in the game instead of full-fledged repair, unless there's a bigger decision. But I'll guarantee that if you wait until you get the full big decision, we'll be having this conversation in another year with more damage and more water leakage and more mortar mixing. So I'm just being honest, but I think that's what we need to look at.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Anyone else?
Sorry, I'm just thinking, we've had two buildings, like the arena and the Listool Arena and the Moncton Library's been done, and they both have brick on the outside. It's unfortunate at the time those were done, that maybe those guys that did that work couldn't have been asked to do, because it's the same kind of work, right? It's masonry and brickwork. So I just thinking they were contractors that did that. And
My
that's all within the
understanding,
last couple of years.
sorry, Becky, I think that it's a specialized skill that they're looking for in terms of the front of the library. I appreciate the skill set of bricklayers, but if I remember the discussion correctly, there's an additional skill set in terms of the historical type of, one, the brick, but two, how to do it.
Mm. Okay.
If I think I can't, correct me if I'm wrong, anyone, please.
I believe we also had the discussion that they had to have certain not qualifications, but criteria had to be registered with workers' compensation. There were a number of different parameters they had to fill to do the work, and we could find people, but they didn't have all the parameters. What I was going to suggest, why don't we pull the architect's report that we received a year ago? Rebecca shared it with us. I know I'll have it in my file, but pull that report and go over it at the next meeting. I certainly would support any initiative to move forward and getting a repair. Before I go on, though, I wanted to say I don't see Shirley, and I didn't know if Shirley wanted to share anything. So I want to open that up. Her screen, I have no picture. So Shirley, was there anything you wanted to offer?
I'd really like to see it get fixed. I think that's very important. Oh, wait a minute, there. If I do that, does that help? No.
Well, we see
I
your
don't know if
SL,
anyone
and
can see me. I'm here.
okay.
So I'll just add, it's really not in my wheelhouse, but I do know where Rebecca's binder is for the masonry work, and I might add, it's a thick binder. So if anyone wants to peruse it, but this is not in my wheelhouse at all, but I certainly will follow through. And I know the people to follow through on it about, and I will do that.
When I meet with you on Friday, Sherry, I'll have a look at this, but I must tell you, if you look at the descriptors for the new CEO replacement, that's one thing we lifted from them, the responsibilities. I apologize. I just hung up on them. So, we did, in the new descriptors for the new CEO, we did remove a degree of building maintenance. They are responsible for general maintenance, but not the structural part of the building. So that's something we have to consider as we bring a new person on board. They're not inheriting that role. That would be a role, I guess we as the board would be responsible for to some degree. And the new person the town is bringing on board as their building person. I don't know if that position's been hired yet. I know it's posted. Hi, Shirley. So
So,
any other comments before we move on?
Just-
One of the
Go
things,
ahead.
Terrence, is that yeah, I do know that that position has been posted for facilities, and I'd like to follow up as a counselor around that because you know, it's totally understandable that in the new CEO position, it has been lifted around, you know, some of those responsibilities. But I would like to highlight with HR and with the new position that this needs to be a priority. And it should never have been on a CEO's plate to begin with. Again, I'm not blaming anybody. I'm really not. I don't think it was Rebecca's role. And it takes a lot of work to follow up on these types of contractors, or to find the right, and a lot of research to find the right companies. And that's the role of facilities, to do that, and to chase these people down and to look after tendering, all that. It's a tremendous amount of work, which is not, shouldn't be in any librarian's, you know, wheelhouse or plate. And so given the fact that we have so much damage and this has been ongoing, I really want to highlight that for this new position, to say, you know, this needs to be a priority. Let's get on it, and let's get this out tendered, and let's see if you, the new person, can contact and get to know, you know, get to know some contractors either locally or, you know, in the province that could maybe do this, because frankly, I feel like we're not doing, you know, enough justice as a board when this, you know, I continue to see the same thing happening in our minutes. And again, I'm not upset with, you know, what's happening in our libraries. It's just, I feel like as a counselor, we're failing. And I don't like that feeling, right? Like, I feel responsible myself. And I'd like to see, you know, some change. And if I can make that change and work with Matt on this, I feel very, very strongly about it. Thanks.
Well, as a board member, I support you, the council reps, if they can push forward to make that voice even louder so people are hearing it. If we can, as a board, even use a strong voice and communicate that to the council as well, through going back and pulling that architectural package out, and in our next meeting, sending them a message that we feel this is urgent. This is important that it happen now, not later. And I think that would be something we could bring to the board and send that message to council to support what you're saying, to validate what you're saying. It's just not willy-nilly. We know this has to be repaired, and we can't wait for the big event, the big rebuild or whatever. So thank you. I agree with you. It's sad that we have seen it on our books now for 2 years.
Yeah.
Go ahead, John.
Yeah, Terry, I agree with what Matt said about we're at a stage where we want to mitigate any further damage if we can, and prevent any increasing costs, and maybe that's all we can expect. And on the south side, the Carnegie Library would require, I would believe, I think it's been said, specialized skills, and I don't I don't know. Correct me if I'm wrong, Sherry. That doesn't seem as urgent as the south side, and I think that's what we should focus on at this point. And surely there would be someone that would be capable of doing that basic hold fast kind of work, rather than a heritage type restoration, which it isn't really, and focus on that. So I agree with that approach for sure.
Any other comments? I'm just looking here. Okay. Well, can we move it? Can we also place it on our next agenda? We'll bring the contract forward, sorry, not the contract, the report that we had from the architect, and begin to develop a strategy how we want to approach this to get some action on it. Possibly we'll have our new CEO in place at that point, and we can bring them on board as well. I just looking, how are you feeling on that as an idea? Go ahead, Bernice.
I was just agreeing. I think that's a
Okay.
great idea.
Well, I'm putting that in our notes that we're going to use it as it'll be an item on our next, at our next meeting. I will meet with Sherry on Friday. I'll go through the contract. I'll make sure everybody has copies of everything, and we'll begin to look at, we'll back whatever you as counselors are telling our reps on the other side in the municipality in terms of what they do. So hopefully we'll be able to move forward. Anything else? I'm sorry, we were still dealing with updates. Was there anything else, Sherry, before we bring this to a conclusion?
No, I think that's all that I had
Okay.
to share.
Well, thank you. And thank you for the comments. We wanted to conclude with trends for discussion, and it's 11.1, and the item is called free fines. It's a new issue coming up, and Sherry wanted to share a little bit about it. She had shared some with me, and I thought you should be aware of the trend that's beginning to happen. It's already had an impact on us, and it will continue to.
Yeah, so when I looked over the agenda, I always noticed that line, library trends. And when I was watching the news and reading listservs, fine free seems to be a trend for 2022 or 21. It's also been discussed at the PCI and CEO level, so I thought I'd bring it up tonight and share a few snippets. I'm not really asking us to make a decision about whether or not North Perth should go fine free at this time. I just wanted to make sure you were aware of the trend. We have budgeted fines into our 2021 budget. We have taken into account that will be reduced amount of fines because of COVID, but I do kind of anticipate this could be something that's discussed about for the 2022 budget. I just have a feeling it could be coming up, but I wanted to make you aware of a few things before then. At the last CEO PCIN meeting, we discussed which library was on this issue, and St. Mary's board has indicated that it will consider going fines free if the other PCIN libraries choose to do so. Perth East is looking into fines free for 2022. Stratford has been approved to go fines free for 2021. And West Perth has requested to go fines free for 2021, but do not know at this time as the approval of their 2021 budget hasn't happened yet. So I guess I think that now more than ever, our communities need access to our libraries. People in our community are under some financial pressure in a way they haven't been before. And I do think that fines provide a barrier to many. And then eliminating fines would mean that all of our residents have access to our virtual and our physical services equally. And removing fines doesn't mean that patrons aren't responsible for what they borrow. They're still going to be charged if their material's lost, if it's damaged, if it's not returned. But librarians will then focus on material recovery versus charging overdue fines. The Kitchener Public Library just announced, I think in January, this past January, that they have gone fine free. And in their announcement, I read that they're one of over 100 libraries that have chosen to do this recently. The one little article I found was interesting was the 5 unexpected benefits of eliminating library fines. The first benefit was that librarians and staff could provide better service to patrons. That makes sense. That being fine free is more aligned with the real mission of libraries. That makes sense too. And that libraries can see an increase in items returned. And this is the one I kind of wanted to speak to. A few months ago, Jen, our library technician, started calling people that had long overdue materials, things that had been out since the start of the pandemic. She explained that we weren't charging overdue fines at this time. And she was surprised at how many people thanked her for the call. They'd forgotten that they'd had the books. And when they knew there was no fines, they were so quick to return them. And we have gotten almost all of those things back. And I think the fact that they weren't being charged fines and that they got that pleasant reminder really made a difference. Benefit number 4 was that libraries can use their resources better, not so much time making overdue library calls. And the 5th benefit was that eliminating fines can lead to a renewed appreciation for the library. And as an aside to this one, when Alberta Public Library stopped charging for their library cards, they saw a double-digit growth in library use, memberships, and card ownership. I have lots of interesting articles that I can forward to anybody, the CBC News, the Toronto News. So if anybody wants to read up it anymore, just shoot me an email and I'll send you the links. But I just kind of wanted to make sure that you're aware that, you know, come fall when we're doing the 2022 budget, this might be something that our board might take into consideration.
Thank you, Sherry. Sherry sent the articles, and I had a chance to read them over, and I was really impressed how it saw an increase in numbers. less confrontations in libraries because often arguments ensued when fines were put in place. I thought it was a really interesting and positive way to operate a library. I just wanted you to have a sense. We budgeted that we would recover approximately $5,000 in fines. Last year, with COVID in place, we recovered $1,298. So in reality, the fine penalties were very minimal for us. The real year I went to have a look at our figures, and Sherry shared these with me. In 2019, again, we budgeted approximately $5,000 from fines, and we brought in $4,980. It is not a huge portion of our budget, but I just wanted to make you aware, to have a sense. And I've asked Sherry to share this tonight, and I thought it would be interesting if you had an opportunity in the next couple weeks to have a look at some of the articles and to think about it as we approach our 2022 budget, which I know it seems a ways away, but in reality, it's not. So I don't know if anybody else has any comments they'd like to make on it or questions they'd like to ask Sherry, but I thought it was an interesting thing to explore. Leanne.
Yeah, thank you, Terrence. I'm quite aware of many library systems, including Kitchener, that have gone fines free. And I have to say that many of the things that you said, Sherry, I totally agree with, and what you reported. Um, it takes a lot of time to track down fines. And so I guess when I look at it right now, we need staff time on the curbside pickup versus staff time on phones to, track people down when they might not be feeling well. They maybe should not be coming in to bring in a book because they have symptoms. And if anything, I'll be truly honest, I would prefer that if we were going to go fines free, it really should be in 21 when we're in the middle of the pandemic versus next year when we could be, over this hump to some degree because vaccinations will, hopefully be in place. And that's truly my feeling is that, and it is a new wave, totally. It's not just about the pandemic, as you were saying, Sherry. It's not about that. It's actually a wave of the future in general to move away from fines. And certainly, as you said, Sherry, to continue with tracking down lost or, they have to pay for the item, of course, if it's totally lost. I get it. That's something you have to track down after a period of time. But in terms of fines, I'm not sure if that's good use of time. So that's my feeling. Thanks.
Anyone else?
I just want to wonder how this would impact on people who are waiting for books. So you put in a request for a book, and it hasn't been returned. So I guess, Sherry, that would trigger library staff to phone the person that has it and tell them that it's way overdue and someone's waiting for it, and use those resources to do the follow-up then in that case.
I have the Lethbridge Public Library's little handout, and one of their myths is that I have to wait longer for my holds. And the answer to that is, if the library study that have implemented a fine-free model, there's no marked increase in hold wait times or gaps in the collection. That is what they're saying, that is a myth, that doesn't happen. I can't speak to that except for what I've read. But certainly there would have to be some management, some way to track down. You cannot renew a book online if you if someone is on hold for it. So I would assume there'd be some kind of a process for that.
Right.
But they're saying that really is not the case. Although we think it's going to be the case, studies have proven it really isn't the case.
And if someone didn't bring a book back, then the idea would be they couldn't take another one out till they bring it back, or would that impact on their use of the library by denying them that continued access?
Some libraries have different thresholds of materials. We'd have to go through all of that, but it's removing the barriers really isn't the from all the articles I've read, removing the barriers is really a positive thing. It isn't all the what ifs that we worried about from all the libraries that have been doing this the last 2 or 3 years haven't come to fruition. It really has been a positive step.
Okay.
Thanks, Sherry. The one thing I did read when I Googled it, I thought this was a very interesting argument. And they talked about the inequity of accessibility. And they said when you remove fines, you have a whole range of the population who is hesitant or reluctant to use the libraries because of fines, and they're more willing to go in, especially your lower economic status population. They feel more confident and comfortable using the library because they're not as intimidated by the fine system. And I thought that was a really valid point. The whole idea behind libraries is to encourage accessibility to all. And I thought, well, if $5,000 can change that, if we're out $5,000, but we've increased the opportunities for other people to use the library, I think it's a good investment for a minimum amount of money. So it was just an item that Sherry and I put up there to provoke the library board to begin to think. I think we are a more progressive board and a passionate board, and I wanted this to be out there. And I think Sherry did too, because we wanted people to begin to think about it as we move along. And I agree with Leanne, it might be something we can consider even during this year. I think it's a valid point during this year, especially during COVID. So it is out there. I want you to take the opportunity to think about it. We'll make sure you get some background information on it so you're fully aware of where it's coming from. I think we lost Matt. I've been trying to find him. Have we lost him?
Yes, he's been in touch with me, and he said that he's struggling with his internet at home and
Okay.
apologizes. He
Okay.
continues to try to get back on, but he does apologize.
Okay. Thank you, Leanne. If he can't get on, we're going to go in camera. I would like him to be present, even if he can call in, so we have his link so he can hear what's about to what we're about to take part in. But before we move into that, we've been kind of into other business, but is there any other business members of the council wish to bring forward before we go in camera?
I'll call him and then he can listen to the conversation, okay? Because I can get him on my phone.
Thank you. Thank you. Anyone else with anything else, other piece of business before we go in camera? Well, again, I want to thank Sherry. Many of you don't realize Sherry's commitment to us ended a few weeks ago. She had signed on for approximately 12 weeks, and we have passed that 12-week mark. And she has been gracious enough to say that she will stay on as the captain of this ship as we sail forward. So thank you again, Sherry. We couldn't do it without you. And I know how much I appreciate all the hard work you do. And being able to work with you and talk to you every week, I realize what you have to deal with on an ongoing basis. So thank you again from us. We appreciate that. And this sounds rude, but I'm going to say good night to you because we're going in camera, and I'll ask Simon.
It's important business to do.
More business. Thank you, Sherry. And Simon, if you can take us in camera there and give us the all clear, please. Simon, are we all clear?
Not quite yet. I'm just heading back down to the council chambers.
That's fine. You'll let us know.
So Terrence, are you still in Waterloo?
I drove back last night. I have been spending almost 5 days a week. I bought land in Listool. Well, I own a house in Listool. I own 2 houses there, as a matter of fact. But I just made the deal, and I had to come back and meet with the architect here in the city to go over the plans because I want to this is public, but I'm breaking ground on a new house. So up by the golf course. So I'm looking forward to that. And you can come up.
library board meeting right now.
How many?
Okay.
4.
Wow.
Well, that's nice that we have viewers. I'm going to ask for a motion to adjourn this meeting at 9:06, and I will see everybody next Tuesday on the, let me get my calendar. I'm sorry, I don't have,
16.
somebody said 15th, somebody said 16th.
Tuesday the 16th.
Tuesday, the 16th at 6 p.m. So I look forward to seeing you then, ladies and gentlemen. I need a mover to close our meeting. Thank you, Becky, seconder, Matt, Shirley, and thank you and have a good evening, everyone. And thank you for a very successful meeting.
Yes,
you.
that was really
Thank you.